What's up, guys? It's Crater again, back here at CraterMania, and I think it's time for a brand new show, a brand new series for the channel. Something that I'm just as passionate about, possibly even more than movies, and that's professional wrestling. This is my new series I'm calling Crater Time. So every bit of this series is going to focus exclusively on pro wrestling. Um, so I'm really excited to do this. I After I watched this past Friday's SmackDown, it really gave me a lot of ideas of what I wanted to talk about for this series to kick it off. Because as you know, The Rock is back in the WWE once again, heading into WrestleMania season. Um, with an all new twist of to this story between him and Cody Rhodes and everything going on in the WWE. Um, but before I get into all of that, because there is a lot to unpack here, I've just a lot of stuff that I've got kind of scribbled down and like talking points. I mean, I got a lot of stuff here tonight, guys, and I'm going to try to get through it quick. But before I get into the show, I guess let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw. I'll give you some brief thoughts on what I thought about Raw. So I thought tonight was a great show. I thought tonight, from top to bottom, all the matches, all the segments on the show, were pretty solid. Um, so I mean, we got new women's tag team champions. That's awesome. You know, we got a lot of kind of twists and turns going into this Saturday for the Elimination Chamber. On all points, the women's Elimination Chamber match. You know, we got the men's Elimination Chamber. We got a little segment tonight on Raw of a little sit down interview with Sami Zayn, kind of furthering that story along between him and Kevin Owens. Um, like I said, all the matches tonight, and I'm not a big fan, really, of either Lyra or Dakota Kai, but I thought their match tonight was absolutely great. Now there was a few little hiccups in the match, and then Dakota, she tripped over like the cameraman's cable or whatever, so there was a few little hiccups in the, but I thought overall that match was great. And then the main event, I know some people groan when they have like women's tag team matches and stuff for the main event, but I had a feeling once that match was announced and it was for the tag titles, just everything leading into the story about the whole Jade Cargill being attacked and stuff, and I'm pretty sure that's going to be Bianca. I think it's just going to be the whole Shawn Michaels Triple H from SummerSlam 2002 story over again. But yeah, I had a feeling kind of going into this match that Liv and Raquel were going to win the tag titles. So, um, I mean, it could have went either way. But it was a great match. That was a great tag match, great main event. That was one of the best women's tag matches I've probably ever seen in the WWE. Um, so they added a lot of suspense to that, especially towards the end. So yeah, really good stuff. Um, the triple threat match. As soon as I seen the triple threat match between Penta and Pete Dunne uh, and Kaiser, I said, yeah, I think Penta is going to take his first loss tonight. I don't know what it was. I just had a feeling. I said, but I don't think he's going to get pinned, and I was right about that. So they still made Penta look strong in that match by not getting pinned. So I think that was a good decision on the WWE's part to try to keep him looking strong, because Penta is getting over big time and fast, especially with kids in the WWE. Yeah, it's really good. It's a good time to be a fan of the WWE and just wrestling in general. Like CM Punk says, "What a time to be alive on a Monday night," right? Um, so couple things, and before I get into the show, what I want to talk about tonight, like, there's a couple more things I just want to mention about Raw tonight. So there was a couple little interactions that I found pretty interesting. Um, the opening of the show between CM Punk and Logan Paul. Um, Now I've been kind of having a feeling about those two for a while now because they've been having several interactions here lately, and I'll talk a little bit more of that when I get into what I'm talking about tonight. But I kind of have a theory behind those two, and like I said, I'll talk about that. And then there's a second interaction backstage that we've seen between Logan Paul and AJ Styles. So that kind of adds some interesting things to the mix as well. AJ has been having a lot of interactions with people. I'm really not sure what they're doing with his character right now or what they're going to do with him going into WrestleMania. He's having these little interactions with Braun Breaker, with Logan Paul. Um, and it's I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. But it should whatever they do. AJ's one of the best wrestlers in the past 20 years. So whatever they do with him, I know is going to be great. Um, and when you look at the stuff between Cody and Seth late in the show about Seth questioning Cody's loyalty and all that, and we'll get into that. That's really what this the show is about tonight. That I want to talk about is based off of that whole Rock and Cody interaction on SmackDown this past Friday. So, as a lot of people know that watch SmackDown, Rock came back and had this in-ring conversation with Cody and how he wants Cody to be his champion. He wants to be Cody's brother, and he can make all of Cody's dreams come true and give him anything he wants, whatever. Um, and then they end that whole segment with uh, kind of Rock just like pointing at Cody, says he wants that, and everybody's thinking, well, he wants the title. Cody thinks the same thing, but Rock is like, no, I don't want the title. I want your soul. So, all right. So let's get into this. There's a lot to unpack. So going into Elimination Chamber, going into WrestleMania 41. Before we get there, before we get back to the present, we got to go back to 2022 to where this whole story began when Cody returned at WrestleMania 38 to face Seth Rollins, and they had a friggin' banger match. Um, and the next night on Raw, Cody made his intentions clear of why he returned to the WWE because he wanted to finish the story. Um, and this is the story that we would see over the next 2 years, because his dad, his brother, they nobody in his family had won the WWE championship, so he wanted to finish that story by winning the championship. So began this long journey for Cody Rhodes as he's coming back into the WWE. Um, he continued after the match with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 38. He would go on and have several other matches with Seth Rollins, um, up until like the Hell in a Cell pay per view that year. Right before that, Cody suffered this like hideous pectoral injury when he was like working out. So, but he still like toughed it out. Went through with the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins. Ended up being one of the best matches of the entire year. And then after that, he was out for a bit. Fast forward to Royal Rumble 2023. Cody returns at the Royal Rumble. He wins the Royal Rumble. So now he's getting to go on to face the champion of his choice at WrestleMania 39. So, of course, he does choose Roman Reigns. And I think a lot of people going into WrestleMania 39 believe that Cody was going to win the title that year. Even myself, I thought Cody was for sure going to win the championship. But of course, as we all know, Cody did lose at WrestleMania 39. And then following that, he was going to, it looked like he was going to continue this story where he's feuding with Roman Reigns and the bloodline. But here comes Brock Lesnar back into the WWE. It looked like he was going to be Cody's like tag partner on that Raw after Mania that year. But then Brock, of course, attacks Cody, and they kind of enter this little small feud, which ended up culminating at SummerSlam 2023, where Cody did defeat Brock Lesnar, and that possibly could have been the last ever match for Brock Lesnar in the WWE because just with all this stuff going on here lately with the Janelle Grant case and Vince and all that, and Brock being named in that case, it's not looking good for his future in the WWE. Um, so yeah, that's interesting to think about that Brock's last match was a loss to Cody Rhodes. But man, what a thing to put on Cody's resume, you know. Um, so fast forward a little bit more in that same year, 2023, going into um, Survivor Series. This is when CM Punk made his return. Um, and this is one of the biggest returns that I can think of in wrestling in a long time. I mean, it was huge when he came back to wrestling in general and AEW, but to see him return to the WWE is even more special when that's something a lot of people thought would never happen. Um, but I love CM Punk. I've been a big fan for maybe 20 years or something now. The guy was following him when he was in IWA Mid South when they were doing shows in like West Virginia and Kentucky and Tennessee and that whole area. Um, and that was Ian Rotten, who used to be in ECW. That was his promotion. And then, of course, Punk went into Ring of Honor, and I was following him there in Ring of Honor for a while up until he ended up making his way to the WWE. And I actually got to go when WWE brought back the ECW brand after One Night Stand 2006. They were doing some ECW house shows, and I got to go to one in Huntington, West Virginia. And so, like, the main event of that was RVD because he was the champion at the time. He just won the WWE Championship at One Night Stand. Uh, he fought Big Show in the main event at that, and there was like other matches like uh, Sabu versus C.W. Anderson. There was Sandman fought Just Incredible, several others. But one of the matches on there was CM Punk versus Kevin Thorne. So these guys were, I guess, I know Punk was coming out of OVW as well around that time too. Um, and so they were talking about bringing him into the WWE as a part of the new ECW brand. But this was before the ECW brand became another TV show there in 2006. So I got to see Punk in the WWE before he debuted on TV. And that was really cool. He was still coming out to the AFI, Missouri CRATER music. And I love that because AFI is one of my all time favorite bands. And it was really cool to see when he had that match with MJF and AEW. He came out to it again. And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And then, I knew there was probably a ton of people in that audience that didn't know the significance of that song when it came to the history of CM Punk. But anyway, like I said, Survivor Series 2023, Punk returns. It's a really big deal, not just for the WWE and the fans, but just the whole wrestling industry in general, because uh, you know Punk has a lot of haters in the wrestling community, but I feel he's a very important figure in the wrestling. He's what really draws people. He's one of those guys that draws people to watching the product that he's a part of. So. Um, but with Punk coming back at Survivor Series in 2023, that led a lot of speculation. That that created a lot of speculation for him possibly winning the Royal Rumble in the beginning of 2024. But like I wanted Punk to win, but I feel like as soon as Punk came in Survivor Series, and they played up that whole ordeal the way that Seth Rollins reacted, um, in at the end of that match. I mean, it wasn't shown on TV, but there was like fan videos and stuff, and it was, all this stuff was circulating across the internet. You know, I think the WWE expected that. I think that they expected fans to uh, take advantage of that and take video of the way Seth Rollins reacted after the War Games match at Survivor Series after Punk's return, because they knew that the fans were going to talk about it on the internet. And so I think as soon as he came, that was the plan for WrestleMania, was for was for Punk to face Rollins. Um, and at the time of the Royal Rumble in 2024, Roman was still the WWE champion, and Seth Rollins was the world heavyweight champion. And there it could have really went either way, but because Cody, I think, regardless, even if Punk had won the Royal Rumble, he was going to choose Seth Rollins to be his match at WrestleMania, and Cody would somehow find his way to facing Roman again. So I wasn't sure that Royal Rumble match was going, what it was going to result in. But when it came down to the two guys, was Cody and Punk, I was like, okay, that's the two logical choices. Um, but Punk actually got injured at the end of that, and I think because it was from a move that Drew McIntyre did on him, so they kind of created a story between those two beyond that. But Cody wins the Rumble again at 2020 and 2024, so he's the first guy to win back-to-back Royal Rumbles since Stone Cold won them in '97 and '98. And when they had Cody win the Royal Rumble for the second year, I knew this was the time that they, as I said, they're going all in on Cody. I mean, they don't do this shit just for anybody. So I thought, that was a pretty cool choice. I know some people didn't like it, and some people didn't like the choice for this year with Jey Uso, but Jey Uso was actually one of my picks. You can go back and watch my Royal Rumble predictions video. Jey was my pick to win the Rumble, and he actually did it. I mean, I had two picks. I had Punk and Jey. I just chose Jey as a wild card because of this whole thing that he had just had this match with Gunther at Saturday Night's main event, and he lost that, but it's a really close match. I was like, they're definitely going to fight again. That's possibly a potential WrestleMania match, but never in my wildest years would I thought that Jey would have actually won the Rumble. But I love that for him. I'm a big Jey Uso fan. Yeet. So yeah, people can complain all they want about the Yeet stuff, but man, it's over like Rover right now, especially with the kids, and that's what matters. As long as you're making these kids happy and you're selling merchandise, that's what matters when you're a wrestler, man. Um, but so Cody wins the Royal Rumble in 2024. And Punk is injured. But I still think that whole plan, even despite Punk's injury, I don't think it was any case like that an audible was called on that or anything. I think the plan all along was for Cody to win the Rumble 2 years in a row, just to kind of um, put that stamp on it that like that this is the guy that they're going with. They're going, this is the guy they want to defeat Roman and take the title from him after Roman's reign for over like 4 years or whatever. Um, but then here comes The Rock. Rock has returned right after Cody's win, and it's kind of signifying that the rumors for a while about Rock and Roman having a match at WrestleMania. So when The Rock comes back, he kind of has this little like conversation that we don't hear between him and Cody, and like Cody leaves, and then we're just like, okay, so what are they going to do with Cody? I mean, is he going to go and face Rollins now? Because Punk's out with an injury, so that would be one of the logical things to do if they're going to do Rock and Roman, right? Um, but what followed after this was, I mean, this is super interesting, and this is why I love wrestling, because like you really never do know what's going to happen. Um, but they did this whole press conference thing that had Rock and Roman out there, and then and and Rollins was there, and then Cody comes out, and they had this whole confrontation, and Cody slaps the shit out of the Rock, and then there's just this brawl almost breaks out, and and Seth is there. He's defending Cody, he has his back and all that. Um, so I'm thinking, what's going on? And like they're involving Seth in this now, and then what ends up happening is like Seth is the world heavyweight champion, so um, he doesn't have an opponent because during this press conference, Cody made it clear that it's his choice and he wants to face Roman. He doesn't care that The Rock is back. He wants to face Roman. So that kind of leads you to think like, well, what are they going to do with Rollins here? And of course, they threw him into a side feud with Drew McIntyre, which they ended up having a match at WrestleMania 40. But what I did not expect was for them to also throw Seth Rollins in this story with Cody, Roman, and Rock, where he would become Cody's tag partner, and that would be the main event of night one of WrestleMania 40, Cody and Seth versus Roman and Rock. And then the main event for night two was Cody and Roman. And if Rock and Roman had won the tag match on night one, then the main event for night two would be Bloodline Rules. So, Seth, when I think of WrestleMania 40, like, you definitely think of Cody finishing the story. He beat Roman for the belt and all that, and all the little run ins during their match with Undertaker and Cena and everybody being a part of that. It's great. But, you know, Seth Rollins was really the MVP. And, and I've been thinking that for a while, and Cody even said that tonight on Raw in his conversation with Seth. But Seth was really he was truly the MVP of WrestleMania 40 because not only did he have the tag match on night one against Roman and Rock, but the very next night to open night two, he had his title match where he defended the title against Drew McIntyre, and and he gets injured during that match, but then still makes a third appearance at the end of the night two where he helped Cody win the championship. So yeah, I mean, I get it. Cody, he worked twice during the weekend. Roman worked twice. Rock worked twice, but Seth was in three different segments on that weekend, and I mean, he truly is one of the workhorses of the WWE, and I love Seth Rollins. Um, but during that match with Seth and Drew, as they had their title match, since Punk is injured, he was present during that match. So after Drew wins the title, there's this whole brawl between Punk and Drew, which Damian Priest ends up cashing in on Drew and taking the title from him. Which I'll touch on those two here a little bit later between Drew and Priest. It's interesting that they're in this elimination chamber coming up this weekend together too. So, um, but beyond WrestleMania 40, so Roman's gone for a while at this point, and then Solo kind of starts. He takes control of the bloodline, and he's kind of doing his own thing, like they and kind of making it clear that they don't need Roman, that they're a better bloodline now, and all this. Um, and this ends up leading to Roman returning a couple months later, and he's a face when he comes back. So, and the crowd is behind him at this point, and so he's feuding with this new bloodline. Roman is, and it gets to the point where he's nobody's really backing him up except Jimmy Uso is there, but then Jimmy gets taken out, I think, or something at that time. But Cody ends up helping Roman. He's after all this 2 years of them of him battling the bloodline and Roman, um, and just trying to take him down. Now he's decided to help Roman against Solo and his bloodline. Um, and what's interesting about that, after that tag match they had, I believe it was at Bad Blood. The Rock appears at the end of Bad Blood and just kind of stares at Roman and Cody, and he gives the people's eyebrow, and that's it, and we didn't see Rock again until the debut episode of Raw on Netflix. Um, but before we get to that, I want to talk a little bit more about Punk and Drew. When once Punk came back later that year, him and Drew were having this feud, and it ended up being pretty much the feud of all of last year. Um, they had this they had several matches, which ended up the last one was that Hell in a Cell match, one of the best Hell in a Cell matches that I've ever seen. Um, I mean, it was absolutely awesome. It really reminded me of Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression Era, WWE. And I think a lot of that kind of vibe that we had in Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era is kind of slowly coming back to the WWE. Um, and I really appreciate that. I mean, there's been some years in the past, uh, probably 15 years in the WWE. There's been a few years that were kind of insufferable, but I feel like a lot of things have changed since Vince is gone now. Triple H is taken over. We got Bruce Pritchard back in the WWE. We got a lot of guys that Triple H is kind of putting over as far as management goes. NXT is more interesting than it's ever been, I think, right now with Shawn Michaels at the helm of that. We just brought Road Dogg back in as I believe the head writer for SmackDown. I think there's a lot of interesting things on the way in the WWE. Um, but around this time that towards the end of last year when Punk and Drew were feuding, um, Cody was entering a new feud at this time too, and this is after he helped Roman and all that against the new bloodline. Um, Here comes Kevin Owens, and he enters into a feud with Cody, and you know Owens is seen as he's portrayed as the heel, as the bad guy in this feud. Cody is like um, he's like the super face. He's kind of like how Cena was back in the day. It was Super Cena. So Cody is like the ultimate face for the WWE. So of course we're going to see him as the good guy in that feud, and all this stuff that Kevin Owens is spouting out and complaining about because Cody helped Roman after Owens has been battling for the past 4 years or whatever. Um, but the thing is, even though he's portrayed as a heel, Owens makes a lot of good points about what he's saying when it comes to Cody, and um, that just kind of that continues on for a while, and then, they ended up ending that feud at Royal Rumble this year in that ladder match. But it's just interesting because I felt like when that feud began between Cody and Owens, and where Owens was talking about all these things, just bringing up really good points about why would Cody do this? Why would he just up and decide to help Roman after trying to take him out for so long? It just seemed really weird, and the only thing I can see with that is they were planning at that point to transition Cody's character. Um, because Cody's had the belt now for since WrestleMania 40, and one thing that I've always noticed for years in wrestling, not just WWE but just wrestling in general, is that if you're a complete face, like you're overall just a face in the company, and you win the title, if they don't have any kind of future transitional plans for you to where you change your character, then that this like overall face, like this huge, you're they're not going to have the belt that long. But there's been very few exceptions throughout history of the WWE where they have had these mega faces uh, be the champion for a long time. Like Hogan was the champ for like 4 years. The same thing with like Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino, and even Cena when he was like Super Cena back in the day. He had the belt for a good while, but majority of the time they don't do this. And I could be wrong about this. This could just be something that I'm thinking I could be completely wrong. But I think the only reason that they've had Cody as the champion for as long as he has now is because they had these long-term plans to transition his character into a heel. And I think we're slowly getting that. I think we're going to see possibly. I mean, because I'm going to look at a couple different scenarios here. Um, I think we could possibly see Cody turning heel here soon. I think that the beginning of that was with this Kevin Owens feud, um, because Owens trying to tell everybody that Cody is wrong in all this, and like I said, he makes really good points. Um, but it ultimately, I think it's going to come down to like when Cody turns heel, all this stuff is going to be kind of like a brainwashing angle where he's brainwashed the crowd into loving him and stuff. But that's just one scenario. I'll get into some other stuff here in a bit too. Um, but at the same time as this Cody and Kevin Owens feud is going on, um, the OG bloodline reunites. Roman, Sami Zayn, the Usos. And they're battling against. They're going into Survivor Series of 2024 against the New Bloodline, and along with Bronson Reed. So, and that's another guy, Bronson Reed. Like he seemed like he really did fit with the New Bloodline. So it's really sad that he got hurt in that War Games match, and I don't really know what they're going to do with him when he comes back. Um, but you know, as you know, Punk agreed to team up with the OG Bloodline in that War Games match, and part of that was that Paul Heyman owed Punk a favor if he agreed to team up with them. That favor, we still don't know what that is, but I have a feeling that it's going to have something to do with WrestleMania this year. Still don't know what it could be, but that's another. There's a couple things I need to talk about with that here in a little bit. Um, so also around this same time, John Cena returns to the WWE and makes the announcement that 2025 will be his last year in the WWE. So his last match would take place in December of 2025. Um, so that led a lot of people to believe, well, then Cena's going to be in the Royal Rumble. And then when he did announce he was going to be in the Royal Rumble, I think a lot of people thought that Cena was going to win. Um, but even before the Royal Rumble happened, they were advertising the Elimination Chamber in Toronto, and they were heavily advertising it with John Cena. So it John Cena was never an. Once I started seeing these advertisements for Elimination Chamber, John Cena being at the chamber, um, he was off the table for me as an option to win the Royal Rumble. I said there's no way that they're going to let him win this. I think it's going to be either CM Punk and then the other name in my head was Jey Uso, but I said there's no way Jey Uso is going to win. I said so it's got to be Punk, right? So some interesting things happened in the Royal Rumble of this year. That's kind of leading down to some of these scenarios I've created in my head of what could happen at WrestleMania 41. Now, I don't, yeah, these are just things that could possibly happen. This is stuff that I've made up in my head, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen. Because I've been right several times, but I've also been wrong a lot more. But I guess before I talk about the Rumble, I guess we should talk about Raw on Netflix, the debut episode. So that was when The Rock returned again, and it's kind of continued the story again because for some reason Cody was in the crowd when The Rock came out there, and they kind of had this little back and forth about kind of how The Rock was, he respects Cody and all this, and he loves him and all this stuff, and after that, they went to the back and they drank like tequila or whiskey or something. I don't know. And now they're all, it seems like Rock and Cody are all buddy buddy. And I think a lot of people, when that happened, thought that that's just Rock's way of telling us he's not going to be at WrestleMania this year. Um, and it went on like that for a while, and like people, it's like, okay, so I guess Rock and Roman's not happening again. Rock's not going to have anything to do with WrestleMania at all this year. But um, that kind of changed this past Friday when The Rock returned again. And I think a lot of people thought that he was just coming in to announce that WrestleMania was going to be in New Orleans next year for WrestleMania 42. But there was more to that story, as we all know from this past Friday, according to the conversation between him and Cody. But before we get there, I got to talk about the Royal Rumble this year. A lot of interesting things happening that, and usually this is the period in WWE where they start setting up um, these stories that's going to go into WrestleMania. Like, and they throw clues out there to who is going to fight who, I guess. And knowing WWE's past and the history of the Royal Rumble, you can usually kind of figure out these matches based on who eliminates who, and or something happens, within the match. It kind of like, foreshadows a future match between these wrestlers. Um, so going back to Drew and Priest, so like but like at WrestleMania 40, Priest cashed in and won the title against Drew. And then Royal Rumble this year, Drew was eliminated by Priest. So they're kind of teasing a match between those two. And now here they're both in the Elimination Chamber this coming Saturday. So it's a possibility that we may see a match between Drew and Priest at Mania this year. But at the same time, there's kind of this whole story going on between LA Knight and Drew. So I don't know. And so where does LA Knight, where's he going to be at when it comes to WrestleMania? Could we see maybe a triple threat match between Drew and Priest and LA Knight? I don't know, but like, is that something people would want to see? Um, because I think those guys are kind of getting lost in the shuffle right now because there's so many other bigger and better things going on right now with these other stories, like the stuff with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the stuff with Punk, and the favor that Paul Heyman owes him, and then the whole stuff he has going on between him and Seth Rollins, and him and Roman Reigns, and now the stuff between him and Logan Paul. So I think they're doing this all intentionally to kind of throw us off, so we will have no idea of what their plans are for WrestleMania. I think that we're going to end up being pleasantly surprised with, and I'm hoping it's going to be really good. Um, but in the Royal Rumble, Punk, like he was one of my picks. I thought for sure he would have been one of the last few guys, but he was actually, after he had eliminated both Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns, there was this whole like scuffle on the outside. Because right after he eliminates them, Logan Paul eliminates Punk. And then there's this whole thing with like Rollins and Reigns, and he does like the curb stomp on him on the staircase, and so that was their way of writing off Roman for a while, and of course he wasn't going to be in the elimination chamber because he's Rollins is taking him out. So I think definitely because of what happened between Rollins and Roman after they were eliminated, they're definitely going to be in a match against each other in some form or fashion at Mania. The thing is about that, I just don't. There's been talk of Punk being added to that match, that being a triple threat. There's been talk of, of Punk being added to the WWE title matches, and that would be his favor from Paul Heyman. Um, so I really don't know. And then there's the whole stuff with Logan Paul eliminating Punk, and then all these interactions we've seen them in the ring together over the past few weeks. Um, I really don't know. Like, I mean, there's so many different possibilities here with Punk. Like, he could be in the WWE title match. He could be put in this match against Roman and Rollins. He could be having a match with Logan Paul. But it's crazy to what's going on right now, because I a lot of it, when I think I've got it figured out, just like how Roddy Piper used to say, when you think you have all the answers, I change the questions. Um, but that's the thing, like I when I feel like I've got it figured out of what these matches are going to be at Mania, all this other shit happens. I'm like, okay, so what are they doing? So the thing is with like Logan Paul, if Logan Paul and CM Punk have a match at Mania, where does the favor lie there? How does that tie in? So that's one of my reasons for thinking that Punk and Logan Paul is not going to happen at Mania. So I'm going to go ahead and rule that out for now, because like I said, I think this favor from Paul Heyman has to be revealed soon, and it has to be revealed for Mania. So, um, now looking at the match between Punk and Rollins and Reigns, triple threat at Mania. Where does the favor lie in that? I mean, does he possibly have this match against Roman and Rollins, and he uses his favor of having Heyman help him against Roman and beat Roman in that? I don't know, but I really don't know. And that's why it's WWE is so interesting right now. Like a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people like kind of down it and be like, oh well, this shit sucks, and oh, this is the same old shit, and Rock's boring. We go away, Rock, and all this. I'm telling you something. Despite how you feel about The Rock is what really made WrestleMania 40 so interesting. And I think going in this year to WrestleMania, especially going into Elimination Chamber this Saturday, it's made Elimination Chamber a lot more interesting. Um, but there's also that. But going back to Punk, there's also this kind of rumor going around that Cena wins the Elimination Chamber, which I think that Cena will win the Elimination Chamber this Saturday. He will go on to face Cody. And then there's that possibility that Punk could use that favor to be added to that match. But I really don't know. It's Punk's future, when it comes to WrestleMania, is kind of really up in the air. I think they're just kind of like slowly dragging this along to see what works the best, because after Elimination Chamber this Saturday, we're going to have about 6 weeks to tell some stories going into WrestleMania 41. So I guess just based off of what happens at Elimination Chamber, um, we'll see what happens beyond that. We could kind of slowly piece it together after that. Um, but like I said, The Rock returned this past Friday on SmackDown. And he had this conversation with Cody, and he's like trying to butter him up, and everything. Like, hey, I want you to be my brother. I want you to be my champion. Hey, our moms, they're friends now. And he shows this picture of their moms up on the screen, and so he's like, I can give you everything you want. I can make all your dreams come true. Go hug your daughter and talk to your wife about all this, and you let me know what your answer is to my offer or whatever. Blah blah blah. At Elimination Chamber. I want your soul. Your soul is mine, Shang Tsung. So, but what I believe is this is leading to ultimately, though, is like what I said earlier about how it began with the Kevin Owens feud. I believe that Cody is going to turn heel at Mania. That is my belief. I think if it, regardless if it's just Cena versus Cody at Mania or if it's Cena versus Cody versus Punk, um, I think Cody's going to turn heel at Mania. And The Rock's going to be a big part of that. And we could possibly see a corporation 2.0 with Rock being in the Vince role and Cody being in the Rock role, and that being as the Rock was Vince's corporate champion. So that may be what this is leading to. We could see an all new stable, that goes beyond just Cody and the Rock. We could see other people come into this, and this whole new corporation. I really don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting to think about, um, and there's that whole story with Cena, on the chase for a 17th championship during his last year as a wrestler in the WWE. And I think it's best if Cena doesn't. If he does go on and he is the one facing Cody at WrestleMania this year, I think it's best that he doesn't win the championship at WrestleMania, because then there would really be no other goal for him at that point for the rest of his run this year. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, I think if they're going to let Cena win the championship, they should let him do it in his last match and then just retire as champion. Um, so what I kind of foresee them, if that is the plan, if they are going forward with Cena facing Cody at Mania this year, then I think that they should have Cena lose that match, because it looks like they're going to be turning Cody heel. I mean, I think that's the plan here. But then there's other people that think that it's the other way around, that Cena is going to be the one that turns heel, and joins up the Rock. I don't see that at all. And because with it being Cena's last year, I know there's so many fans out there that want Cena to have this heel turn. Um, and I wanted that a long time ago. I was begging for Cena to turn heel at some point when he was, he wasn't a part timer at the time. He was he was a very active member of the roster, but it never happened, and I don't think it ever is going to happen now, because I just don't see them turning John Cena heel in his last year in the WWE and then leaving the company as a heel. Um, I just see it more as this whole year is going to be a tribute to John Cena. Um, and I think it's a big reason of him coming back. That's why they're going forward with Cody being the heel, because they got to have somebody um, for Cena to chase throughout the rest of this year. And I know I think there's Cena's going to have other battles against other people throughout the year, but I think the main story going forward for the rest of this year should be Cena versus Cody, with Cody as the heel and Cena as that face, and just with Rock coming back and having that abuse of power, I guess you could say, because he's the final boss, and he's the one that's making he can make your dreams come true, Cody. So I think this is really going to entice Cody, and we're going to see a shift over the next month or so of Cody getting ready to become heel, and then that's I think that's definitely going to happen at Mania. Um, and then going beyond that, like I said, with Rock having that power in the company, he's going to try to keep Cody champion as long as he can. But and then it's going to become a goal for Cena to take down Cody. And there's a rumor that's been going around that the event that they're going to put together in December of this year is going to be centered around John Cena's last match, and they're talking of calling the event Ruthless Aggression, which and that's just as a tribute to John Cena because he really kind of defined the Ruthless Aggression era all those years ago. Um, and I think this is what I think. So I don't. This doesn't necessarily. This is what's going to happen. But I think it would definitely make sense if they just had Cena chasing after the title all this year, and he keeps failing, and there's times where he doesn't get the opportunity. Rock's keeping him from that. Him and Rock may possibly have a match at SummerSlam this year. And then that could also lead, Triple H being brought into this story because, just like The Rock has power, Triple H has power, and this would be kind of like a battle between Rock and Triple H, not in a match or anything, but like they're just kind of like going head to head, because Rock is having this abuse of power, and that could culminate, in a Survivor Series elimination man match between Team Rock, Team Triple H, where Cena would be like the captain of Triple H's team, and if they won, then that's when Cena would finally get his title shot again against Cody. Um, uh, and they if they have that match, if that proposed event for December, Ruthless Aggression, which would be Cena's last match, I think it would make sense for to Cena go out, finally beat Cody, break the record, be 17th time world champion, and then retire, as champion, and then he vacates the belt. And so, as you may have noticed, like I have the video. This is titled "Road to WrestleMania 41 and 42." So here's where 42 comes in. So if that they do, let's say that does happen with this scenario with Cena winning the championship at the end of 2025, he retires as champion, vacates the title. The next event would be the Royal Rumble. And where's Royal Rumble going to be next year? In Saudi Arabia. So they're going to do. I feel they're going to do something huge for that, um, where it's going to be in Saudi Arabia. So let's look at that scenario again. If Cena does win the championship at the end of this year and then vacates it, retires as champion, they could have what like they had in 1992 or even in 2000, I think 15 when Roman was the champion and he had to defend against everybody in the Royal Rumble. So the WWE title that's vacant, could be um, up for grabs at next year's Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. And this is what I would do. This doesn't mean that's what they're going to do, but I think it would definitely make sense. And I think it would be controversial as well. I don't think a lot of people would like this, but it would definitely make sense with the story they're telling. So I want to say that the last three guys for the Royal Rumble next year, the last three that will be in the ring will be Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and The Rock. And I think The Rock wins it after Roman. Let's say Roman eliminates Cody, and then Cody helps Rock eliminate Roman. Rock becomes the new WWE champion. So then go the next month after that to the Elimination Chamber. Let's say Roman's in the Elimination Chamber. Roman wins the chamber, goes on to WrestleMania 42, and faces The Rock. And then we finally have the match we've been waiting for so long between Roman and Rock. Um, Also at this same time, like I think what they could do is have another match, not particularly an elimination chamber match, but just a title match. Let's say whoever is the world champion at that time would be a face. Let's say, for example, if it's Jey Uso, I don't know if it'll be Jey Uso this time next year. But let's say it's Jay, and if it was Jay, that would definitely make sense in the story. If like Cody would so Rock would give that opportunity to Cody to fight for the other title, the world title. So, and Jay and Cody, they definitely have a history with each other. They were the tag champions after not that long ago. So to see them kind of, if they end up having a battle with one another, Elimination Chamber, I could see Cody, winning that the world title, and then they could somehow throw Punk. Maybe they could hold the favor off for Punk another year. So, but I don't think they're going to. I think we're going to find out what that is here sooner or later. But I think there could be a possibility that Punk could uh, go on and face Cody in that kind of scenario if Cody were to win the world heavyweight championship, and then they could have that match at WrestleMania 42 between Punk and Cody, and Punk could finally get his main event in that sense as well that he's wanted at WrestleMania. But that's another thing too about like the whole Punk wanting a main event match at WrestleMania. I don't think that they should give Punk a main event match at WrestleMania until like he is about to retire. I think it would be best in the whole story wise because that's kind of become a thing with CM Punk nowadays. It's like I never got to main event WrestleMania. I always wanted main event WrestleMania, but he keeps failing like every time. He's not getting that main event. I think it would be the best for business, as they say, if when Punk plans to retire, and let him have his last match at WrestleMania, um, and that's and be that his last match be the main event, and that would be finally like he'd come full circle. He would finally in his last match he would finally get that main event for WrestleMania. Um, but who knows? I mean, like you know you, they can really do whatever they want, nowadays. But it's some of the stuff is nothing you would even expect to happen, but it's always so interesting to me. I mean, I love wrestling. I've been a fan of wrestling for 35 years now, and I love it all. I'm not just a fan of just like of WWE. I'm a fan of everything wrestling. I love it. Um, to me, professional wrestling is the most unique style of art form that there is in this world. There's nothing else like professional wrestling, um, and it just it thrills me to see like how many young kids are still getting to wrestling every day now. Like my nephew, well, my son Noah and my other nephews, like I have an older nephew who is, let's see, I think he's about 20 years old now, and he's big into wrestling and stuff. But my son, he likes but he's just not heavily into it right now. I mean, that could change years from now. You never know. Um, and I have another nephew named Raiden, and he's not really into it either. But my youngest nephew, Henley, is like hardcore into wrestling now, and I love it. I mean, I absolutely love it. Um, but I mean, that's all he's been watching lately is everything wrestling, and he's watching the new stuff, the old stuff, the stuff that I grew up on. He's been asking me like all kinds of questions, and I love telling him about stuff and like just seeing how he reacts to it. Um, and but yeah, man, like I have an absolutely huge passion for pro wrestling. Um, and just the stuff going on right now in WWE is super interesting to me, and I'm so excited to see what happens with all this. I'm super excited for this Saturday, the Elimination Chamber. Um, like I said, I think as far as that match goes, I think Cena, as far as the men's elimination chamber, Cena's going to win that. I really don't know about the women's elimination chamber. I have no idea. Looking at it on paper, maybe Alexa Bliss. That'd be my choice, I guess, to win the women's elimination chamber. Um, I already said Cena. I think is going to win the elimination chamber for the men's. The Owens and Sami Zayn match. I don't know how that's going to go. I'm super excited to watch it though. I love both of those guys. Been watching them for several years as well. You know, back to their days of Ring of Honor. And their matches are always great with one another, and I think they're going to tear the house down this Saturday. And then I think there's another match. I think so far it's been I think it's Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I don't really know. I mean, like I because right now I think Charlotte is facing Tiffany Stratton at WrestleMania this year, so I don't really know how like Trish Stratus ties into this. Maybe it's just like a one-time thing because they're in Toronto, and she's from Canada. Um, I don't know, but that's going to be an interesting match itself, I guess. Not one I'm really like excited to see or anything, but the rest of the card I think is going to be great. The women's division right now in WWE is awesome, and they really proved that tonight on Raw with the two matches they have. Lyra and Dakota Kai, awesome match. The main event, the women's tag match, one of the best women's tag matches I've ever seen in my life. Um, yeah, just WWE is on fire right now. They really are. Um, but just want to acknowledge my buddy Daniel that I went to high school with. He's in the chat tonight. He's been talking in the chat, saying, um, see what he's got saying here. Wish you still had my old WWF ring that had Hulk on the monitor. Oh yeah, man. I think you're talking about the old Hasbro ring. Man, I still got I got around like 30 some different Hasbro figures from the early 90s. I love those. Those are some of my favorite wrestling figures ever made. Um, but yeah, man, like I'm glad to have you here tonight. Just sticking with me here in the chat as I go on and talk about all this craziness in the WWE right now, man. But I love it. Um, and Yeah, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it for this episode. But I'm super excited for this channel. Like I said, I love professional wrestling. I'm always, just I have it's probably like outside of my family and God and all that. Um, Wrestling is like the number one thing that I'm most interested in. I think. I've been a fan of it for 35 years. It's been an obsession for me at times. Um, and I'm there's always things like turning in my head, man, of ideas and just different scenarios that they could possibly happen. Um, but I guess what I want to ask you guys is the viewers of this channel is what do you guys want to see for the future of this series? Because this is going to be about everything. This is everything wrestling, like not just WWE. I'm going to be talking about AEW, New Japan, the old stuff like from the Attitude Era, WCW, ECW, NWA. I mean, like I love it all, man. I really do. Even like the local independent stuff that they have like around in our area and stuff. I love all of it, man. Like I have that much appreciation for wrestling. Um, but yeah, I just want what kind of content do you want to see for this series? Uh would you guys be interested in like watch alongs where I can give my commentary as we watch like a live Raw or a PLE or something like that, or I could go back and watch some of the older stuff. Like right now, I'm actually watching some of the older ECW stuff that's still on Peacock. Like I'm in 1994 right now. I just finished out 1993 VCW. Now I'm going into 94. It's getting close to the point to where because there's still Eastern Championship Wrestling. There's still a division of the NWA. where I'm at right now, but it's getting close to where they're getting ready to branch off and separate themselves from the NWA. You know, the whole Shane Douglas throwing down the NWA title is like they kind of signify the beginning of Extreme Championship Wrestling, and that's ECW is just it was awesome, awesome, really awesome in the '90s. Um, a lot of ideas were taken by the WWE, by Vince McMahon, of stuff that Paul Heyman was doing. Like right now, there's so they just had this whole the match between Terry Funk and Sabu and Shane Douglas. The night the line was crossed, and after that match, you know, Terry Funk delivers one of the best promos that I've ever seen in my life. Um, and Yeah, I mean it's you really have to watch it. Just go on YouTube, go watch the old ECW stuff on Peacock. I mean, it was absolutely groundbreaking for that time. Um, so my buddy Daniel says he misses us all being together. EWA forever, man. Crater, yeah. Back in high school, we had this little wrestling backyard fed called EWA Extreme Wrestling Association, and that was put together by a mutual friend of ours named Brandon, I think, who has been on the channel here before in the chat, you know, in some of my videos. Brandon Allen, he created that company, and you know, him and a couple other friends created that company, and they for like years, you know, during high school and stuff, they would always have these matches, you know, in different backyards that belong to our friends. Um, Daniel was actually one of the guys that hosted a lot of the shows back then in his yard. Um, yeah, man, fun times. You know, me and Brandon, we still talk about that stuff all the time, and he still has like all those tapes and stuff, and maybe he'll let me borrow some of those sometimes to where I can like and I can get those uploaded, and we could maybe do like a commentary on those or something here on the channel for this series. That would be I think that would be fun, and I could maybe like have you guys on here, one of you guys, you or Brandon or one of the other EWA alumni, come on here and we could talk about it. You know, if any of those guys are interested, you know. But I like I said, you know, I know I'm rambling on, guys. But um, I could really talk about wrestling in different aspects of wrestling for hours, but. Uh, that's what's exciting, I think, about this channel and this series is that there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to be putting out for this series. There's so much that I can talk about that I know about that I'm curious about. So it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be really fun. But anybody that has joined me tonight live during this stream, I want to just thank you guys so much for being here. Um, Thank you for coming and checking out me just bullshit for over an hour. Um, that means a lot to me, guys. It really does. But if you're watching this on the replay, thank you guys as well. And just any of you guys that are watching this, please let anyone that you know that's a wrestling fan to come on here because I'm open to, like I said, I'm open to bringing people onto the channel and we can like you know we can talk about and discuss different things about wrestling. You know, I'm open to having to I know not everybody's going to agree with what I say, but I'm definitely open to having friendly and you know as long as they're civil you know debates on here about you know difference of opinions on things. I think that would be a fun aspect. But yeah, just let anybody you know that's a wrestling fan, let them know about this series that I'm doing. Because like I'm so excited to do this. Like I think my I don't it's going to be kind of spontaneous from time to time. Like you never know. I'm not going to really have any kind of scheduled shows for this series like I do with the 500 movies in 2025. These are just going to kind of show up whenever I want to do them. Whenever I've got something on my mind that I want to talk about when it comes to wrestling. And but I don't know. I was thinking about maybe doing a show after Elimination Chamber this Saturday to kind of give my thoughts on that, but I don't know. It just depends. I mean, um, if I do have that, just watch out for it on the channel, guys. I mean, like I said, it'll just be kind of something spontaneous. But I guess that's it for me, guys. It's after midnight now. I do have work tomorrow, but thank you for tuning in and and just listening to me ramble on for over an hour. I really appreciate it, guys. But I will see you guys next time here on the channel here at CraterMania. I love you guys and have a good night.